Now, how did Equine Advocates come to be?
Well, I had spent, go back to when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
I've been a horse lover ever since then. Always loved horses. And when I was in college, I was a theater major and became aware of Secretariat, who had been going for the Triple Crown.
Right.
That was in 1973. And his photograph was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, Time, and Newsweek. So I bought all three and posted his picture on my wall and went to the Belmont Stakes. He won, of course, by 31 lengths, won the Triple Crown, made history. The next day, I was at the backstretch working. And I spent the next 15 years of my life involved in the racing industry in different capacities, as a writer, as a jockey's agent, as a person, as a groom. I started taking care of horses and just got really, really involved with racing. After that, I had found out, not because of racing, but I went on to do other things and had gotten a job with an animal protection organization, found out that over 300,000 horses a year were being sent to slaughter to satisfy the taste for horse meat in Europe and Japan, and I was horrified because a lot of those horses were thoroughbreds, not entirely, but a lot of them were, and I just thought to myself, how could I have been so blind as to not realize what was going on? Well, of course, it wasn't obvious because the racing in New York is sort of high class, and horses weren't going at that time. We're talking about the 70s. They weren't going from Belmont to the slaughterhouse. They were going from Belmont to, say, the smaller tracks and then ending up going. And so I was taken aback, and it changed my life. I rescued my first horse in 1993 from slaughter, and then 3 years later, I call him the co-founder of Equine Advocates. His name was Gandalf, and I started this organization strictly because of that issue, and my desire to end horse slaughter, the slaughter of America's horses. It was really what drove me to start the organization. We started with very little money, very little resources, and basically I operated for the first 8 years out of an apartment in Queens. We had horses in 6 states. I used to travel constantly, and then in 2004 we were very fortunate in obtaining this wonderful property in Chatham, which is a great area, and we built up the sanctuary. We have now 81 equines, which includes horses, ponies, donkeys, and mules, and a wild Mustang who was captured by the Bureau of Land Management in Wyoming, and that's a whole other issue that's horrendous. All these issues are horrendous, but what we can say about our place is that it's structured in such a way that it's an education center. We have a building which we opened in 2006, which is a humane education center. We welcome thousands of visitors every year, including students, educators, law enforcement officials, and just visitors that come to learn about horses. What's really fantastic is that we recently started an association with the Henry Street Settlement in New York City, which serves over 135,000 meals a year to disadvantaged New Yorkers. And we have started a partnership with them where kids and adults are coming up from New York City, probably have never been north of 14th Street, and spending the day working with horses, learning about horses, having tours. And it's so successful that they've already doubled the number of visits to the sanctuary. And by the time this airs, Bebe Neuwirth, the 2-time Emmy and Tony Award-winning actress, will have done a concert, benefit concert, for the purpose of benefiting these programs between Equine Advocates and the Henry Street Settlement. And we, of course, have classes and groups from all across the state and from out of state, from Massachusetts as well. So as far as I'm concerned, humane education is where it's at, because there are so many horses in need that you can only help so many. But what we can do is take the ones that we have and use their stories as a way to educate people about the situations that horses do get into and how people can become a more responsible owner and guardian of equines.
Now, we're in a very tough economic situation locally, statewide, and nationally. and it's a very tough time for not-for-profits. At the same time, it seems you as a not-for-profit are able to sustain what you're doing and at the same time grow a little bit. How have you been able to accomplish that? I'm sure through a lot of sweat.
Well, it hasn't been easy, and we have been affected by this terrible economy. Remember, I just said we have 81 horses?
Right.
Well, one of them, actually two of them recently came back to us. One of them was adopted in 1999.
Right.
Came back to us, a woman in Maryland who I've known for 20 years, adopted this wonderful mule. I never thought we'd see this mule again, thought she'd be there forever. And she fell upon hard times. This other mare that was adopted in Wilton, just above Saratoga, by a couple 7 years ago, they fell upon hard times, and so this horse came back to us. So we have it in our contract that if someone can't keep an animal that we adopt, that the animal must come back to us. But this is all a direct result of this terrible economy. And yes, we are having a hard time, but you know, I know about 5 or 6 sanctuaries now that have actually gone under. We're fortunate that we're not in that position, but it has not been easy. And to say that we're doing well, you know, we're in survival mode. And it's disappointing to me because I really like concentrating on the work. And now we're in this mode of where, you know, we're surviving. So we're doing better than a lot of other people. We have a lot to be grateful for. But yes, I wish that we got out of this slump so that we could move on with the business of trying to protect horses in the way that we would like to, instead of just, you know, dealing with what we're dealing with right now.
Now, animals, like people, have memories.
Yes.
Did your former residents, when they returned, seem to be happy to be back at your place? Did they remember?
Well,
or could you tell?
actually, well, the one from '99, we didn't have the place in 1999.
Okay.
We had her boarded someplace before. Actually, she went directly to the home when we rescued her.
Okay.
So she'd never been to a different home. She's in an area of the farm called Muletown. We have names for all the different sections.
Muletown?
Muletown. We have graphics all across the whole property. So when people come to a pasture or a paddock and they see horses in there, they can read about the horse, see why the horse was rescued, what issue is involved. So we have some very cute names, and it helps us also, those of us who work there, because we know where people are at. When they say, oh, we're at Muletown, we're on Pony Hill, we're with the Full-Figured Girls, we're with Guys and Dolls. You know, we have a Mustang in an area called Born to be Wild. We have a group of 8 geldings who are kind of sweet, and we call them Bobby and the Heartbreakers, after Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers,
right.
my favorite band. And then we have Wise Guys. This is a group of 4 boys who are a little aggressive, and then we have Goodfellas, 4 boys who are a little calmer. We have Blondes Just Want to Have Fun, Canadian Club. That's a group of PMU mares from Canada. So we have names for, and people really seem to enjoy that.
Wow. Now, your facility is open for tours, right?
Yes. We have an open day every month through November. We do have special tours, private tours. People just need to contact us via email or call us. But the public is welcome on any of our open days, and the schedule for open days is on our website, which is equineadvocates.org.
Now, also, you have, you alluded to the fact you have an education center there.
Yes.
Do the various schools in New York State take advantage of that?
Absolutely. We have school groups all the time, and one of the most exciting and fun things that we have are professional photographers and professional artists coming to teach kids how to sketch horses and how to photograph them, and it's one of our most successful programs. One of the photographers, Valerie Schaff, is a world-renowned photographer, has been to the sanctuary twice, and we're hoping that some of these schools that have disadvantaged kids maybe can get loans of cameras or donations of cameras so that they can continue to use those cameras with different groups of kids. That's one of our most successful programs.
Now, Assemblyman Jim Tedisco from Schenectady County had Buster's Law passed a few years ago, which he sponsored, which is aimed at preventing abuse of animals in New York State.
Yes.
However, it was found out last year through an unfortunate incident in Rensselaer County that Buster's Law did not address horses. And subsequently, he has endeavored to have legislation which would add to Buster's Law to protect horses. Now,
the problem has been, as it always is with trying to pass legislation to benefit animals, is the Farm Bureau. I wish that we could just work with the Farm Bureau and have them understand that this is not going to affect the animals that they are dealing with on a regular basis that are used in agriculture. Horses are non-food livestock, and that's how people view them. We write about them in literature. We grow up learning about the Pony Express and how we wouldn't even have a country without horses because it wouldn't have been settled without their help. Horses have a special meaning to Americans, and so to have them slaughtered so that people in Europe can eat them as delicacies just goes against everything that we believe in. And I wish that they would just, stay neutral and allow the legislation to pass, because it's really important. There's a lot of horse abuse, and we can't really get a handle on it unless we have legislation passed, and we never will really be able to charge people with animal cruelty in the proper manner unless we ban horse slaughter.
Now, if one is interested in adopting a horse, can they contact Equine Advocates? They
can. We don't always have horses up for adoption because a lot of the horses we have are not adoptable. We take horses that nobody else really wants. And we also take horses that have been seized by police during cruelty investigations. We have horses that, when we got them, had to stay in a hospital for 3 weeks. That's a long time. So many of our horses have not only physical problems, but they also have behavioral problems because of the way they were treated. We rescued between October of 2003 and March of 2004 46 mares from a PMU factory farm in Manitoba, Canada, and most of them were in foal. They were pregnant. We sent them 1,500 miles from Manitoba to Ontario, and we had to humanely euthanize 4 of them. That's how bad they were. They are not treated well. They're fed horribly. They're basically kept as 4-legged drug machines. And so we have some that have come around and you can handle. We have some that have gotten better, but we have 2 that are still very difficult to handle. We would never give a horse like that to anybody.
Now, for the boys and girls, your sister Karen is here, but she's an author but did not want to go on television with us today. But there's a book that you can get from the Equine Advocates called Do Horses Sleep Standing Up? Do they?
They sleep standing up and lying down.
Okay.
And yes, my sister Karen wrote that book, and it's great for our education program. The book, we sell it online through the website, through Amazon, and in some of the local tax shops and bookstores. But it's an interesting book because it's basically a question and answer, and all the horses in the book are at the sanctuary. So people that get the book then come to the sanctuary and they recognize the horses in there.